You have 3 shoulder muscles. They're like this, 1, 2, 3. And our front ones get very overworked and our chest gets very overworked. So many of us are sort of pulled forward. So lots of us have more of like this kind of posture. So what I do when I work shoulders is I want to reverse that. I want to bring my shoulders back and down. So I do that by opening up my chest, stretching out the anterior delts, and then training the posterior delts. And personally, is I don't do like this motion with heavy weights. I feel like that's a motion that's already overdone in our lives. So I avoid this. When I do push-ups, I really make sure I'm pushing with my lats and I'm not pushing with just the front of my shoulder, because again, that's just creating tightness where we're already tight. I'll have something just simple like a band, and I'll just be pulling outwards like this, and it's just really, really lightweight. So you can see it's activating just by something as small as this. If you go with something super, super heavy and you're trying to do like really big weights, trying to get that rear delt working, chances are your back's going to take over, because the bigger, stronger muscles around are going to help the smaller, weaker muscles. So if you already have a weak rear shoulder, your back is going to be the one that's going to be doing the job. When you're leaned over like this, it's going to be your back that's going to go. Versus just a little motion like this, you can see, kind of, I'm not really lean enough, but you can see that this muscle in here, the rear delt, that one's working. So I really focus on strengthening the rear, a little bit of the lateral, and stretching the front and stretching my chest. And then I'm working my back on a different day as well, so that you go from this to more like this, or that's the idea behind it. So the first exercise, I have my arm up at a 90-degree angle. So that's going to be, you can see it's opening up my chest mostly. Sometimes I'll press a little ball. So we're doing this for 1 minute. Sometimes I'll press a little ball into my chest to find any tight knots or whatever. And then once I get that, then I'll open that up a little bit. I'll press into my chest muscle, find tightness. And then once I feel like a spot that really hurts, I'll hold it and like try to actively relax. And then after, I'll just keep stretching. Same thing on the other side. So you have your arm up at 90 degrees and you're just pressing into the wall. So what really helps to open up your chest is to fight the pressure of the wall. So press into it and almost engage your chest. And then after you've done that for a few seconds, then relax into it and like let the wall win. So like fight the wall and really, really press and engage your muscles, and then actively relax it. The third one's gonna be like the bottom of a dip, is what I'm trying to say. So you can see how much I'm stretching through here. So I'm just holding it like this, and you can sit right down on the floor. You want to pull your elbows in together. So if you come out like this, that's not going to be doing anything. You have to have your elbows pulled in and have them be parallel with each other, and then see how far you can go away. And same thing, like try to hold your weight up a little bit so that you're using those muscles, and then relax. This exercise might seem really easy, but after a minute, let me tell you, it is not. So you're just holding. I find the best angle is if I hold with, I don't use like, go like this with both. I'm just grounding with this one, and then I'm coming back. And it's just such a small little motion. Like you can see that tiny little muscle working. But I'm not, like I said before, my shoulders aren't really lean enough to see, but you can tell it's just, I can feel it. It's just that small little pulsing motion is giving me a real isolated burn in the back of my shoulder, which is what we're wanting. Okay, now we're switching to the other side. When you're working small little muscles like your shoulders, it's really important to make that mind-body connection. So really be thinking about, okay, what muscle is doing this? So when I'm doing little shoulder exercises, sometimes I close my eyes. I just want to like really connect that muscle. There's lots of supplements that help with that as well, creating a stronger mind-body connection. But if you really just think about it, you get a lot better at it as time goes on. Okay, now I'm gonna go, I was down in palms down before. So now I'm gonna go palms up, and I'm just gonna pull like this. And the most important thing as a female, I think men think a little bit differently, but I don't want to be like this. I want to really make sure my shoulders are back and down, like really make sure. And I'm just pulling with a very, like, keeping my shoulders as far away as from my ears as possible, and just pulsing here for 1 minute. And I'm like dying right now, so I always find it surprising, like such a little bit amount of weight really burns. But yeah, guys want to be a little bit more like this, or like whatever, have those traps. I like to try to have a nice long neck, but I don't. So the next exercise is lateral raises. So again, shoulders back and down as far away from my ears as I can. And I'm really just pulsing up right here, and I'm thinking about my shoulders. So I'm not letting my back be the one working, and I'm not letting my neck be the one working. That's the big thing. So you can kind of switch back and forth. Like sometimes I get more of a burn if I do one arm at a time, and then sometimes I can do both. So the problem with doing both is usually your back will help out a little bit more than if you just do the one. So either one of those, and we're doing this for 1 minute. Okay, this one you've seen me guys, This one you've seen me do before. You're grasping your fingers. So you can tell, like, I'm not grasping right now, and now I'm grasping. So see how much my rear shoulder is tightening when I do that? So I'm just keeping that, pull, and then I'm just holding a plank position, pulling my hands apart, but holding on for dear life with my fingers. So it's really gonna create a burn in your rear shoulder. Not the best feel for you guys. There. And if you're finding the planks like too much, you don't even really have to you don't even really need to be in a plank position. You can still be pulling and getting that burn in your rear shoulders. Okay, so the next one we're doing is similar to the one we just did, but it's a little bit harder because you're keeping your arms up. So before, we're going like this, but now we're keeping the one arm up, and we're doing 30 seconds on one side. And you can do this with little dumbbells as well. If you do a small little dumbbell, it's going to be way more isolated than if you try to do a big heavy one. I'm talking about sculpting and changing our shoulders, not just building big bulky shoulders. Okay, now after 30 seconds we're switching to the other side. So holding this one up and moving this opposite side. I did shoulders right before I filmed this, so I am hurting. So for me, I can start to feel it up into my neck, so I'm stopping, and that's what I want you to do as well. The last sort of burnout exercise is literally just shoulder circles. So going back and forth, and the bigger your circles, this is so much easier than just tiny little motions. If you want to hold weights, I would recommend like maybe 2 or 3 pounds, but and this should really be burning. If it's not, then I don't know, maybe do some more of those exercises again. I'm dying right now. So the final exercise is headstands or handstands. You don't have to do this. You can do it up against a wall, whatever you're comfortable with. This is killer for your shoulders. So how I do it is I like to do it on my hands or on my shoulders, elbows and hands rather than my shoulders, because then I can stay up a lot longer. And I'm creating a little cradle for my head, so I'm not putting the pressure on the top of my head. I actually have my head like maybe 1 or 2 inches off the ground, so that all the pressure's on my shoulders, and then I just see how long I can stay up there for. And if I'm in a handstand, I definitely use a wall, because again, it's about seeing how long you can stand up there and burning out your shoulders. So if you're comfortable with it, just finish off your shoulder exercises with